For decades, they've been as much of a part of the Chicago Cubs experience as the ivy-covered walls and the manual scoreboard. The rooftop buildings across from Wrigley Field, where generations of fans have watched baseball from lawn chairs and homemade bleachers. But behind these iconic structures lies a tale of high-stakes negotiation, bitter legal battles, and a ruthless corporate takeover that forever changed the landscape of this historic neighborhood. This isn't just a story about baseball. It's about power, property rights, and a family worth billions who came to Chicago with a vision that didn't include sharing their most valuable asset, the view of America's most beloved ballpark. To understand this conflict, we need to go back to the origins of the rooftop viewing tradition. For much of Wrigley Field's history, the buildings across Waveland and Sheffield Avenues were simply apartment buildings with a unique perk. Residents could climb to their rooftops and catch glimpses of Cubs games. It was an informal neighborhood tradition that embodied the charm of Wrigleyville. By the late 1980s, enterprising building owners began to capitalize on this unique view. What started as residents inviting friends for beer and burgers during games gradually evolved into more organized rooftop businesses. Crude wooden bleachers were built, small admission fees were charged, the casual atmosphere remained, but commercialization had begun. As the 1990s progressed, these operations became increasingly sophisticated. Building owners constructed multiple tiers of seating, adding concession stands, and began charging substantial fees for all-inclusive food and beverage packages. What had been a neighborhood quirk was transforming into a multi-million-dollar shadow industry around Wrigley Field. The Tribune company, which owned the Cubs from 1981 to 2009, had a complicated relationship with the Rooftops. Initially, the media giant largely tolerated the rooftop operations, seeing them as part of Wrigley's unique charm and free publicity for their broadcasting partners. But by 2002, as rooftop revenues soared into the millions, Tribune's patience wore thin. Cubs executive Mark McGuire reportedly delivered a blunt message to rooftop owners: "You're stealing our product." The Cubs filed a lawsuit against 13 rooftop businesses claiming copyright infringement and theft of trade secrets. After 2 years of contentious legal battles, a landmark settlement was reached in 2004. In exchange for dropping the lawsuit, the rooftop owners agreed to pay the Cubs 17% of their gross revenue, a figure that would eventually amount to millions annually. The agreement was supposed to run for 20 years until 2023. Both sides claimed victory, but it was merely a temporary truce. Everything changed in 2009 when the Tribune company, facing bankruptcy, sold the Chicago Cubs, Wrigley Field, and a 25% stake in Comcast Sportsnet Chicago to the Ricketts family for approximately $900 million. Tom Ricketts, whose wealth came from the TD Ameritrade fortune, immediately declared his intention to modernize the aging ballpark while preserving its historic character. By 2010, the Ricketts unveiled ambitious renovation plans for Wrigley Field, plans that included a significant expansion of advertising signage that would potentially obstruct views from the rooftops. This put them on a collision course with the rooftop owners, who believed the 2004 settlement protected their views. Beth Murphy, owner of Murphy's Bleachers and a prominent rooftop operator, reportedly told associates, "We have a contract. They can't just put up signs that block our views. That's not what we agreed to." The rooftop owners pointed to language in the 2004 agreement that they interpreted as protecting their sightlines. The Cubs, however, focused on a different clause which stated that any expansion, approved by governmental authorities, would not be prohibited. This legal ambiguity set the stage for an epic confrontation. By 2013, the Ricketts family had refined their renovation plan into a $500 million project called the 1060 Project, named after Wrigley Field's address. Central to this plan was a massive video billboard in left field and additional signage that would unquestionably block views from many rooftops. Rooftop owners mobilized politically, leveraging their connections with local aldermen and neighborhood groups to oppose the signage. For a time, they succeeded in delaying approvals, but the Ricketts family had an ally in Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who supported the renovation project for its economic benefits to the city. In a bold move that signaled their intentions, in 2014, the Ricketts began installing a massive 3,990 square foot video board in left field and a 2,400 square foot sign in right field, exactly where they would most obstruct rooftop views. The Rooftop owners responded with a federal lawsuit in January 2015, accusing the Cubs of monopolistic practices and a breach of contract. One Rooftop owner reportedly declared, "This isn't about baseball, it's about a billionaire family trying to crush small businesses that have been part of this neighborhood for generations." But behind the scenes, the Ricketts were executing a ruthless strategy that would render the legal battle moot. They began quietly purchasing the Rooftop buildings themselves. The first acquisitions happened subtly through limited liability companies that masked the Cubs' involvement. In January 2015, the Ricketts family had purchased 3 Rooftop properties. By the end of that year, they would own or control the majority of the Rooftop businesses. The Ricketts' approach was multifaceted and some would say predatory. Where owners were willing to sell, they paid market rates. Where owners resisted, they allegedly applied pressure through their relationship with Wintrust Financial, which held mortgages on several properties. And, in at least one case, a foreclosure notice appeared shortly before a sale to the Ricketts was completed. As they acquired Rooftop properties, the Ricketts aggressively expanded signage that blocked views from the remaining independent rooftops, effectively devaluing those businesses while simultaneously offering to purchase them. Their acquisition strategy was meticulous and deliberate. Property records reveal that the Ricketts used at least 7 different limited liability companies for their purchases, including entities with names like Right Field Development LLC and Greystone Sheffield LLC, corporate shells that obscured the real buyer until the deals were complete. By mid-2016, the Ricketts family had accomplished what seemed impossible just a few years earlier. They had gained control of nearly all of the Rooftop businesses surrounding Wrigley Field. The once independent Rooftop industry had been almost entirely absorbed by the Cubs organization. The Ricketts wasted no time transforming their newly acquired properties. They poured millions into renovations, creating premium experiences branded as Wrigley Rooftops, the official Cubs offerings with structured pricing and corporate amenities far removed from the Rooftop's scrappy origins. Today, only a handful of independently operated Rooftops remain, with most under Cubs ownership. The remaining independent operators exist in a precarious position, their views increasingly obstructed by signage, their businesses squeezed by official Cubs competition. For Cubs fans, there was a bittersweet irony to the timing. The long-running Rooftop war reached its conclusion right as the Cubs finally broke their 108-year championship drought, winning the World Series in 2016. The Ricketts family, whatever their aggressive business tactics, had delivered on their promise to build a winning team. The Rooftop acquisition was just one part of the Ricketts' larger vision for Wrigleyville. Today, the area around Wrigley Field has been transformed with a Cubs-owned hotel, office building, fitness club, and entertainment plaza. A corporate campus built around a baseball stadium that bears little resemblance to the neighborhood of dive bars and apartments that existed for generations. As one longtime Wrigleyville resident put it, they didn't just buy a baseball team, they bought an entire neighborhood. The transformation has been financially successful, but culturally controversial. Admissions to the now Ricketts-owned Rooftops are frequently priced at $150 to $400 per person, a far cry from the more accessible pricing of the independent era. The businesses now operate less as a neighborhood gathering spot and more as a premium corporate entertainment venue. The Cubs characterize these changes as necessary modernization. A Cubs spokesperson once stated, "We've invested significantly in these historic buildings to ensure they remain viable and enhance the neighborhood experience for decades to come." Critics, however, see something more troubling: the corporate capture of what had been an organic grassroots tradition. The Rooftop experience, once emblematic of Chicago's neighborhood culture, has been standardized, sanitized, and monetized under corporate ownership. The story of Wrigley's Rooftops represents something larger than baseball. It's about the tension between tradition and modernization, between neighborhood character and corporate efficiency, between the chaotic charm of independent businesses and the streamlined presentation of corporate entertainment. For the Ricketts family, the strategy has proven undeniably successful. Forbes estimates the value of the Cubs franchise has more than tripled under their ownership, from approximately $700 million to over $3.2 billion. The Rooftop acquisitions, while controversial, were a key part of controlling their product and maximizing revenue streams. Today, as fans still gather on these historic rooftops to watch baseball being played in the second oldest ballpark in America, they're participating in something that looks similar to the tradition that began decades ago, but underneath, everything has changed. What began as neighbors watching baseball from their rooftops has transformed into a corporate entertainment experience that happens to take place on rooftops. For better or worse, the battle for Wrigley's rooftops is over, and the House of Ricketts won.